Alright, legends, welcome along to Here's Your Otter's Reviews. We're going to talk about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire in this one. I had a great time with this movie. It has taken a bit of a bashing, from what I've heard anyway. I avoided, other than the trailer for this, I avoided any of the early reviews that came out in this movie by the critics. And this was going to take a bashing from the critics, and apparently it did. But Afterlife took it as well. A lot of the critics, it seemed, were not happy with Afterlife whenever it came out because those same critics were so in tune with the 2016 Ghostbusters. It is what it is. These two sides are always going to be fighting with each other, but I am old school. I go to see a movie, I'm there for the entertainment factor of it. And if the movie can take me out of my problems for a couple of hours and entertain me, get a few laughs out of me, a little bit of emotion, which this movie did, in all fairness, not as much as Afterlife, has to be said. That is very, for a Ghostbusters fan, that ending to Afterlife hit you with the emotional gut punch that, as I said in that review, left the Ghostbusters franchise in a place where I'm happy for anybody to do whatever they want with the Ghostbusters moving forward. That was just respectfully handed across. So this one here is a great, great movie. I would say now, it's probably, well, between Afterlife and this movie, they're kind of shoulder to shoulder for me. They both have good points, very good points. I couldn't tell you, if I had to pick a favourite between Afterlife and this one, Afterlife might be slightly above this one, but this is a very, very close runner-up to what Afterlife was. Great, great movie. There's a few elements in it I wasn't sure were going to work. We have the, forgive me if I butcher this guy's name, Kamal Nanjiani. Hopefully I've said that right. He's in this movie. We've seen him in the trailer. The trailer gave away quite a bit of what the plot of the story was going to be. At this orb that obviously has the enemy inside it. He sells it to Ray in the movie. Now, this guy has shown up in a few other things that I've seen in the past, and not necessarily the kind of characters that would really appeal to me. And I thought to myself, okay, if memory serves, and I might be wrong here, I think he was in the Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi series. If memory serves, I think he was in there. Kind of annoyed me in other roles that he did, and I thought, okay, right, this is going to be the one down point to Frozen Empire. I can quite happily say I was 100% wrong. By the end of this movie, you're going to love this guy. He steals pretty much every scene that he's in. He's a great, great character. And as I said in prior reviews in Ghostbusters, I can appreciate the more subtle sense of humour and jokes that are just there. They get the laugh, they move on. They don't beat it to death like the 2016 Ghostbusters did. There's one moment, and that's very close to the end, where you're into the action. It's all building up, the tension's rising, and the music, the score's beating in there. You're intensely in the story, what's going to happen next. The he does one thing in the firehouse that I almost fell off my seat laughing at, and it was so subtly done. Brilliant. This movie here, I don't want to ruin it too much for you. I don't want to destroy the film, but pretty much what you see in the trailer kind of tells you what's going to happen. Like, this orb turns up, he sells the Ray at one point, and the orb eventually gets opened by Phoebe's fault, little Phoebe, And she has a great little story arc in this film where Walter Peck comes back, and of course he's after the Ghostbusters one more time. He's now the mayor of New York, and he goes after them, trying to shut them down again. First of all, he takes her out of the equation because she's a minor, so he blocks her from busting ghosts. So she is, it's like a little bit of a coming of age thing for her in this movie, where she's, you know, in her mind, everything that happened in the afterlife, it's kind of her destiny to be a Ghostbuster, more or less. And now the real world is butting in there and stopping her from doing it. So she got 2 or 3 years to wait before she can be legally a Ghostbuster again. But Peck is going to be after them. And he does eventually take the swing to try and shut them down in the movie. You're expecting that of Walter Peck. You remember him from the original Ghostbusters. There's a big bit of this movie that concentrates a lot on the technical side of the Ghostbusters equipment and whatnot. You've got the containment unit is getting ready to explode because the big bad in this movie is taking a few stabs at it to try and break the ghosts out of the containment unit. But yeah, where am I at? Garaka. Just had to look up his name there. I couldn't recall how to pronounce it, so I just had to look it up in my notes there. Garaka. There's a good origin story to that character. Of course, he can't break through to the real world, get out of this orb, until a human speaks these words to break the spell of whatever it is. I'm not going into major detail on it. The story in the film tells itself very, very well. At the beginning, there's a flashback to 1904, whenever he nearly got out. So Phoebe accidentally, in her little story arc, she manages to end up breaking him out of this thing, and he goes to town to take over the world. You see what you basically get in the trailer, you see the ice coming up the beach and everything. That doesn't, well, this will be a bit of a spoiler for you. That doesn't actually happen to very close to the end of the movie. The only thing I would say, as far as story goes in Frozen Empire, is it could have been a little bit more compacted. The story is pretty spread out. Didn't lose my interest, but the second viewing I was at, we had these kids in the cinema office. They weren't with us, nor a random bunch of kids coming to see the movie. They were okay up until about the halfway mark, and then there's a big chunk of the story is, the characters researching who Garaka is, how he got killed, is raised to power when he was alive, and then, how he got screwed over and put into this orb in the first place. So there's a lot of research and whatnot in the whole movie. Does kind of bows in the centre ever so slightly, but then the action kicks off towards the third act is very, very good. What's his face on here? Patton Oswalt. I was not 100%. This is an art guy that I was like, oh, of course this is a Ghostbusters. They're going to have some comic legends on here. And of course, Patton Oswalt, he's one of these guys. It's just, he's hilarious and whatever he does. But I'm thinking to myself, for him as well, before getting to see this movie, is he a little bit too much over the top as a comic for this movie? He's on there as one of Ray's friends and an expert in the occult. He is phenomenal in this film. You do see a couple of his jokes in the trailer, but he's very serious in most of what you see him in the movie. So very, very good. I can't fault any of the actors in here at all. Slimer's back, of course. He just the right amount of Slimer in this movie. Unfortunately, what I would have liked to have seen is Peter and Slimer coming face to face again after so many years. You didn't get it in Ghostbusters 2, really. And of course, if you're a fan of the real Ghostbusters cartoon as a kid, whenever I was a kid, I was the target audience for that show. Of course, you always had the Peter Slimer kind of head-to-head thing going. That doesn't happen. Would have liked to have seen that. But you do get a good bit of Slimer with Finn Wolfhard as he's trying to get rid of Slimer out of the firehouse, so he ends up getting slimed a couple of times and whatnot. And yeah, as I say, just the right amount of use for him. Unfortunately, Lewis Tully didn't show up on it. And yeah, overall, fantastic movie. Walter Peck as the mayor does take a go at the Ghostbusters to shut them down once more in this one, but he is very put into his box nicely at the end of the movie one more time. Bill Murray, cool as a cucumber, as Peter Venkman. That's classic. Him coming head to head with Walter Peck at the end of the film, just in a couple of lines, puts him in this place. So smoothly done. Still a cool character after all these years. Absolutely brilliant. And a nice little emotional ending for Paul Rudd. And this one here, he, of course, is him and Carrie Coon's character are the two love interests in it. And of course, he is trying to play father to Phoebe and, you know, her kids and whatnot. So at the end of the movie, you do get a nice little moment between him and Phoebe where she slips up and says something that she's kind of embarrassed to have said. But beautifully done. It's one of these movies, as I say, you go in, sit down for a couple of hours, get entertained, bubble gum for the brain. You don't go into, and I say that's quite a bit about stuff that I watch. You don't go into a movie like Ghostbusters expecting Shakespeare. You go in there to get a bit of a laugh, a bit of entertainment, and this really does dish it out nicely. And again, another good episode and a handover to a new generation. I was actually pleasantly surprised just how much of the classic characters we got with Frozen Empire. I was really convinced after the prior movie, Afterlife, you know, what they did with that movie. I thought, okay, you could quite easily, and I think I did say it in that review, that you know, you could really phase the original characters out, other than Winston. Of course, he's going to be the business backbone for the Ghostbusters moving forward. So I was fully expecting to go into Frozen Empire and not see too much of Ray or Peter, but there's a heck of a lot of Ray in this movie. Some nice emotional moments for him as well. A little bit of a head-to-head between him and Winston at one point in the movie, but fantastic, absolutely great. I will see this at least one more time in the cinema before its run is finished. I actually went on the Friday. I opened on the Friday here in Northern Ireland. I went that night with my brother. Me and him went, enjoyed the movie. The following afternoon, me and my best friend hit the cinema again, watched it for a second time. Absolutely love this movie. Yes, the Ghostbusters in the hands of these guys now, they're making all the right turns. You know, me as a fan that grew up with the Ghostbusters, they're making all the right turns for me. Very, very satisfied with both Afterlife and Frozen Empire. And from here on in, they can do whatever they want. They can bring back the female Ghostbusters from the 2016 movie now and respectfully bring them back in in this universe and try them one more time. Like, I said it in the review for the 2016 Ghostbusters. If they had have respected what came before, they might have still been on the scene now. But of course, Hollywood, being Hollywood, can't leave anything alone at the moment. And like, I'm just getting ready now to sit back, use this channel to watch absolutely everything, chat some pop culture here, and watch the slow motion train wreck that is the film industry at the minute. And thankfully, there's a lot of high points at the moment with movies like Frozen Empire here. And yes, that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments. Share it along. Do all that good social media stuff. I will love you forever. And until the next episode, stay safe. I'll talk to you all then.